Welcome to my presentation, Social Media Unleashed. My name is Marie Mackesbach. I am a professional marketing consultant. I've been focused on animal welfare and causes for the last 9 years, and prior to that, for 15 years, I was in a corporation. It seemed like a dream at the time, but I really wanted to do something where I could spend my days with animals, thinking about animals, and most importantly, helping animals. So I followed my love for animals, and now here I am. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, during this presentation, please turn on your devices, but keep them on silent. And please post, tweet, take pictures. I want to start this presentation on looking at all the pieces of the marketing pie. I show this pie because I want to emphasize that one marketing tactic isn't going to do everything for you. This presentation is going to focus on social media, but there are other areas of marketing that are just as important when you're promoting a marketing campaign. You might be responsible for the social media management for your organization, and there may be other people who manage the other pieces of the pie, and you might be managing other pieces of the pie as well. So what I'd like to just start by saying is a lot of these tactics we're going to talk about today can be also carried over into the other areas, or should be shared, and the promotion or campaign be developed with the team. And these tactics are just one way of promoting and marketing your specific campaigns for your cause. Now we are going to just focus on social media, but I just want everyone to keep in mind that it is really best to run a whole marketing campaign where you can take into account as many pieces of the pie as possible. Now, I know a lot of organizations are still small and they can't necessarily even tackle every piece of this pie, but I think having the mindset, knowing all the pieces that can be used, are very important in understanding a complete package of the possibilities. And of course, even in organizations that I started with, heck, we used to just have a website. We didn't have the other areas either. And we just went out and asked volunteers who had professional experience to see if they could participate in the other areas of the pie. And now with the organization I've been with for 9 years, Muttville, we do have all pieces of the pie, but it was with forward thinking and planning and understanding the importance of marketing. Support causes or organizations using their page or channel or your personal profile or channel. I'm starting with this particular advice because I'm aware that some people who are watching this presentation, you might be the person representing an organization in social media, or you could be a volunteer and you're one of the many voices who are helping to promote using social media, specific cause or organization. And like in my case, I wear two hats. I am the voice behind the social media channels of several organizations, and then I speak as myself, a social media and marketing rescue advocate. And I want my name to be known as being someone who does this for a living. And I also have my own business. So I want to show you examples of how you can use both your personal social media accounts and profiles and speak on behalf of an organization. So you'll see a picture. This is my Facebook personal profile. A personal profile can have both followers and friends. Friends, you have to actually give permission. They ask you, you have to actually say yes. Followers do not have to have permission, but they can only see posts that you have set the privacy level to public. So here's where you have to be quite conscious of the privacy setting you have on your post. Now, this is great if you want to build a reputation as an animal rescue advocate. This is something that was important to me, and so I did want to gain followers, and I'm pointing out here how someone would actually sign up to be one of your followers. They would either click the follow button or they can click the link that says follow Marie. And you wouldn't necessarily get a notification, but you can always check to see who's following you. On the sidebar, you'll notice a sentence that says followed by, and in my case, it says 119 people. You might be aware that when text is blue, that means it's a link. So if I clicked the words 119 people, it would actually list the individuals who are following me. I think that this is great, especially if you're not quite ready to start your own business page, or you aren't an admin for an organization's business page, but you want to exercise that ability and use social media to promote and actually show that you can successfully and use social media in a professional way to help your causes. So if you're not currently doing this for an organization, I mean, here's a great way to show people that you know what you're doing, and you'd like to, you'd like to do this for a living, or you'd like to do this, professionally. Now I'm going to show a couple examples of business pages. The three examples I'm going to show you are three different types of entities. And they each have specific things I want to point out about them that I would really like for you to take note. The first page I'm showing you here is a government organization. This is San Francisco's Municipal Shelter. The short name is SFACC. Now, both staff and volunteers run this page. It is a government entity, therefore we have to abide by very specific guidelines and policies. Now, a page like theirs is going to get lots of traffic from the public, basically anything relating to animals in San Francisco. So one example I want to bring up is sometimes you'll hear in the news about, for example, an animal abuse case, or a dog who was seized by, for some legal case. They may receive from their site visitors comments, private messages from those people, and they do have to responsibly address them. For that reason, I recommend that in the About section, but somewhere where it's permanently visible, you do have what we call communication policies or social media guidelines. These are guidelines that would be followed by the people running your social media, as well as people who wish to publicly comment on your social media channels. Now, this helps when there might be people who want to complain or rant about something they saw in the news, and it's very important to have a very consistent way of responding and addressing to that type of public communication. They call it crisis management, so that's a term you might want to Google, or you might have heard before. That means that when you want to take action, for example, maybe you actually want to ban a user or hide a comment, in order to avoid controversy on your part as an admin, having that written as a policy on your page prior to actually taking action gives you some basis to have as your defense if somebody does choose to say things that are inappropriate. And you can always refer to them whenever someone does place or choose to post inappropriate messaging. And if they choose to ignore that, then you can actually take action. I'm going to move on to a 501c3 nonprofit organization page. Now, this is an organization that I have been the marketing director for about 9 years, Muttville Senior Dog Rescue. So I created this page and managed the team who helps to communicate to the public for Facebook as well as all of our social media channels. The first thing I want to point out, and hopefully your organization is already using this tool. You see this button over the header that says Donate Now. So that button's there whether you like it or not. So you better make sure that you use it. If you're a nonprofit, Donate Now is probably the most appropriate call to action to place for that button. I think some of the other options are like Shop Now, Contact Us, more information. Of course, sure, all of those things are worthy, but when you're a nonprofit, I mean, one of your top 3 call to actions is likely going to be a donate. So if your organization's page isn't already using that button and has a call to action set to it, do that as soon as you get online. It's quick and easy. It's already sitting there on your page, so make sure that it is working in your favor. Now, another thing I want to point out, which is applicable to all Facebook pages, Facebook is actually tracking your response time and rate to private messages. You'll see here Muttville, it says 87% response rate, 58-minute response time. Now, we have several volunteers for Muttville, and I have to say I'm very fortunate that I have someone who is dedicated to responding to private messages, and we sure get a lot of them. It is important to respond to the public, if even it's a blanket response, something that the whole team understands is the consistent response you're going to give to specific inquiries. I think ignoring people kind of defeats the purpose of social media. They give you these tools in order to interact, but I do understand that there's some inappropriate questions that get placed, people ask you on the private messages. They don't belong on a social media page. That's okay. I think our job is to send them to the right department or send them to the right method of communication, if it's an email address or a phone number. And, as a team, we have these default responses for questions that shouldn't be addressed by a social media team. So that's something I highly recommend also. So let's say that somebody's inquiring about signing up to volunteer or wanting to visit your facility, etc. Like these very typical questions. Have blanket statements for those types of questions, and make sure everyone on the team responds with the exact same type of communication, and actually maybe you all have a document with this exact copy. You just have to cut and paste into a response. People like to know that this page isn't just robotic and it's not just you talking, that you're actually listening. So make sure that your team understands the importance of listening in terms of reading people's comments and not ignoring them. So the third type of page I want to show is my business page. Now, I'm not a nonprofit and I'm not a government entity. I am an individual consulting business. I like to use my page to really just share really great examples of rescue marketing efforts, advertisements, posts and pictures, and help organizations that I am a fan of. There's a lot of organizations that I don't work with, but I run across them when I travel, and I run across them going to conferences and even just being part of that community. And I really appreciate their cause or the way that they choose to use marketing. I think that there's so many organizations who understand the importance of marketing and have great examples. So I like to use my page for that. And so as you can see, because I'm not a nonprofit and I'm not a government entity, I'm using Contact Us as my call to action there. And I think that that's pretty appropriate for a regular business page. Primary source of information about causes. Now, I don't know if you're like me, you're part of the animal rescue community. Most of my friends are all in the animal. They all love animals. So the majority of my news feeds on whatever social media I use are mostly posts about animals. So I'm not, sometimes I wonder if I have a very skewed view of how much information out there is related to animals. So, it's great to hear statistics like this. Well, it turns out that 41% of information on social media is about animals. So if you are using social media for your animal rescue efforts, I think that you're on the right track. Marketing rule of thumb. Keep it positive. The majority of people turn away from photos or news that is sad, disturbing, or violent. When people feel good, they will come back for more and associate you and your animals with happiness. I know that people always like to ask me about the Sarah McLachlan ASPCA commercial because technically that example has a sad song and very sad faces of animals. Well, what's your opinion of that ad? I don't see many examples of ads that focus on the sad aspect of animal rescue. That's the only example that many of us know that's sad. And you know what? They have a lot of money. So a lot of us know it because it's a national commercial and it's on prime time. In general, like advertising in general, products that you are a fan of, they're not using sadness to get you to buy their products. So we have to think on that same level. Does Apple use sadness sadness in their advertising for you to buy their products? No. And guess what? Factory farm ads, they portray happy cows and chickens as comedians, but we all know the sad true facts behind factory farms. In marketing, it's just a known rule that getting them on board as your fans is what gets people to pay attention to you. So do focus on putting messages out there that make people feel good and that they want to share because they want to share joy. I would say in general, I think you all could agree that people are more interested in sharing joy and feeling good and not feeling uncomfortable and disturbed. But you do run across really sad stories that you feel compelled to share. An animal comes to your shelter or rescue. It is one of the worst cases that you've ever seen. You know that their lives are going to change now that they're rescued. So what do you do with that story to make it follow my rule of thumb and also to benefit you? Well, here's some piece of advice, and I'm happy to share examples of this. If you can contact me after this presentation, and I'll show you examples of how to take some of these compelling, tragic stories and turn them into something that really becomes an effective marketing piece. So in this case where an animal has come in and you know that their story is really going to touch the hearts of people, document this animal's progress. So take pictures, interview people who helped with their rescue and their transport and are going to be there to help with their special care as they, now are at their rescue, and you have volunteers who are going to be spending extra time giving that pet extra TLC, giving him baths, watching them slowly come out of their shell and slowly watching them put on weight and grow back fur and improve their health. Capture all of this in photos and videos and interviews. Be patient because you know, because you believe in your organization's cause, that that animal is going to be a different personality, a different being 3, 4, 5 months from now. Imagine that story when you can tell from beginning to the happy ending, when that pet becomes adopted and is now in a loving home. What an amazing story you can share with your audience for example, an end of year fundraising campaign or an appeal letter. So those kind of stories is what I save for our really big campaigns that are going to use all the different pieces of the pie of our marketing efforts. I have really great examples of taking a story and creating a campaign around it. So again, if you want to contact me by email after this presentation, I'm happy to share with you how to take a story like that and really use it in that big way. When is the best time to post your most important content? Easy question, but not an easy answer. Why? Well, I'm going to give you some basic guidelines, but everyone should really be looking at your social media's analytics and your website as well, analytics and insights, which are tracking the activities and traffic of your specific audience. But if you don't yet have enough data to go by, and you just need to have activity in order to have data to track, here are some guidelines you can follow. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, most likely higher traffic than Mondays and Fridays, because Mondays people are coming back to work, their inbox is piled up, they've got a lot of things that they want to catch up or look at, and Fridays people are usually trying to wrap up, getting in the car either to go way out for the weekend or they're sitting in traffic to go home. It's just, we're not saying that there is no activity on those days. It's just not going to be as high as Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Now, if you want to test that out, be my guest, because this is all based on many analytics and insights across the board, and it's just a good general schedule you can follow. Holidays. Well, I mean, this is all based on our own desire to interact. So don't you love going on your social media to see how people are celebrating their holidays? Well, that's why I think holidays are a great time to post important content. In fact, make sure that you have a holiday message related to your cause. Or have a holiday social media interactive type of participation for your audience. I have a great example of that coming up in a slide in one of our tips. Big events. Again, people love to see what people have to say about who won the last, who's winning awards in the Grammys or the Oscars, and of course Super Bowl. People love to get on social media and either say their peace of mind or hear what other people have to say. Well, it's also a fun way for your organization to jump on that bandwagon. So you're putting yourself in front of people who are interested in the Grammys, which could be a whole new audience, and you're finding a really clever way to promote your cause or any special campaign you may have. Really cool way to just get some attention and use that in a good way. And again, generally speaking, I say 12 to 3 p.m. Now, that works especially if you're a local organization who has mostly local followers. Eventually you're going to get bigger, and this is social media, which is available all over the world. Your Facebook page can be accessed by people in many countries. That time zone ends up not being as relevant as it once was. So 12 to 3 p.m. is for your local audience. Maybe if it's a post related to an event or something that really is more related to your local audience, sure, then maybe you could follow that. But things related to donations or your awareness for your cause, you may want to use your analytics and see when your overall audience seems to be most receptive and active to your activities. What is your social media strategy? There are many social media strategies out there, and I'm just going to show you two so you have an idea of what this means. Some people like to use goals. Goals means you have a specific use for each of your social media channels. Some people find that Twitter is best for promoting events. Facebook is best for outreach. Instagram and Pinterest, because they're photo-based, is best for adoptions. Another method is schedule. I use schedule, and you can go on the Muttville Facebook page to see how I use schedule for my social media strategy. So I'll use them as an example. Each day is a specific theme, and that theme means it's a different goal on my part as to what that theme is going to do for my social media strategy. So on Mondays, the theme is called Muttville Monday Moment. I like to include the day of the week because I think for the fan out there, if they really enjoy posts on Mondays or the ones called Muttville Monday Moment, it's just easy for them to remember what day of the week they can catch that particular series. I like to use that to spotlight volunteers. So posts and photos that I will use for Muttville Monday Moments will have volunteers interacting with our animals, and also they are contributed by our volunteers. So I'm able to thank the volunteer in the photo. I'm also able to thank the volunteer who contributed the photo. This is also a great use with hashtags, by the way. Like Muttville Monday Moment is my hashtag also. And it also helps me to be able to organize because, hashtags are searchable. I can always search Muttville Monday Moment if I wanted to, look at all the posts I ever used for that specific theme. But more on hashtags later, as it's going to be one of my tips. Tuesday for me in Muttville is Tongue Tie Tuesday. And this gives me a chance to have participation from the public. So I actually ask adopters, volunteers, fosters to send pictures. I actually include that as part of the caption. That would be a great Tongue Tie Tuesday post. Again, that's the name of the hashtag, Tongue Tie Tuesday. Wednesdays are success stories. So success stories are it's a category on the blog at muttville.org. This is contributed by adopters. So again, this gives me a chance to have submissions and interaction with our supporters. And what a great way to get content, a lot of content that you don't have to actually be the one to write. You just have to be the one to post. I have so many success stories that I am backed up for months. I post every Wednesday, and people email me because sometimes they've been waiting so long, and I have to let them know that theirs is coming in like 2 months because I have so many submissions. Because people who have submitted their story, this is a great way for them to honor the pet that they've adopted. And because we are a senior rescue group, some of them have passed away, and it means a lot to them. So to see that on the Facebook page and see the kind of comments they receive, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a way for me to also have people find their way to the website where they can actually, find out more information, buy merchandise, see Pets for Adoption, read about our other offerings. Thursdays, I like Thursdays for promoting the weekend events. Hopefully that stays on our newsfeed for a while. I will repost those again on the weekend, but I think this gives them enough time to plan if they would like to participate in one of our many events. Most of our events do happen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so that's why I think Thursdays are appropriate. And Fridays, I fill the social media channels with our animals for adoption, which seems appropriate again because adoption open houses are for Muttville are Saturdays and Sundays. And then my hashtag for Friday is Meet Our Mutts. So again, using a hashtag, a memorable phrase is always helpful, and I think that people look forward to, look a little forward on Fridays because they kind of know what to expect. So that's one example of how you can use scheduling as your social media strategy. Now, this makes life easy when you're using the schedule method. To be able to schedule Facebook posts to publish at a later date, I can schedule a whole week because I already know the kind of content I post on each day. So using the scheduler enables me to have all the posts ready to go as early as I want. I mean, sometimes, you're not going to be sitting in front of the computer this weekend or on a specific day of the week, or maybe you want to go on vacation. This really helps save time, and because you're organized, because you actually have a schedule, why not? All of this is just to make your life easy and also make your time efficient. And it helps to have an organized method of posting. I think as humans, that's just kind of we're creatures of habit, and we like to know that we can expect, these kinds of information or posts on a weekly basis. All right, here come the tips. Now, I want to mention again, I'm going to have this presentation available for you to share and download from my website. So that information will be on the last slide, but you're welcome to take notes as we go along, and I'd love to hear any comments you have. And if you are watching this, after this actual live presentation and you've shared it with your staff, you have my email address. You can share with me, did these tips work? Or do you have a tip that I would like to know and I could share with the audience and other organizations? I love to get feedback, and I love to interact, and I love to hear from other people who are doing the marketing social media for organizations. Okay, tip number 1, tag, you're it. Yes, we're going to focus on tagging. Now, tagging means that you have put a link to either another page or a person to a post. Why is this a good thing? Well, it just increases the visibility of that post. Now, appropriate tagging means you are tagging people because they most likely will want people to know, or for you to let them know that you are posting a picture that they're in. So it's great when you have a photo with a lot of people, because that's a lot of people you could tag. That's a lot of eyes that this particular post is going to be in front of. I do have an example of what I call inappropriate tagging. And especially if you are the voice behind an organization, definitely don't use this method or this inappropriate tagging method, because I don't think that it's a very professional thing to do. But I have seen it done, and I'm going to describe it in case you might be one of these people, or you may not be aware that this is inappropriate. Some people take a photo, and maybe it's a photo of a dog or a photo of a dog in themselves, and they've put it on their own personal profile, but then they also tag 20 other people who don't have anything to do with the photo, but they just tag them because they just want to make sure the person sees it. I consider that inappropriate. It's already posted on your page, and they will likely see it on their newsfeed. Tagging them is almost a misconception, because tagging is meant to let people know that they're in the photo. So by doing this just to guarantee that they saw this picture, eventually people are going to kind of get tired of you tagging them when they already have experienced from before that you're just tagging them because you just really want them to see this picture. So I don't think it's appropriate. I wouldn't do this as a habit if you are posting on your own profile, because I don't think that shows well in trying to be a good example of someone who's a social media professional. And it definitely doesn't show well if you are representing an organization. I have another example of tagging, and I really love this example. It's from a personal experience, and I'm excited to share it with you, and I'm hoping that some of you will want to try this after I go over it. So Much.com is a comic strip many of you probably have heard of. I really love Much.com. The illustrator's name is Patrick McDonnell. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but you should check them out. He's a huge advocate of rescue, and so he has a whole series that he calls Shelter Stories. And he actually visits shelters and he supports them. Anyways, it's a fantastic comic strip. He's very popular. As you can see, this one post, he got almost 4,000 likes and over 1,000 shares. I share his strips all the time because, his messages just for me, they align. I align with them so much because they're just supporting rescue. Well, I did post something on my animal rescue marketing page that related to Patrick McDonnell. There's a children's book about Jane Goodall's life that when I discovered this, oh boy, I was such a fan of this book. It's called How Jane Goodall Turned Her Childhood Dream into Reality, a sweet illustrated story of purpose and determination. Well, it turns out that the illustrator of this book is Patrick McDonnell. So as an afterthought, I added in parentheses, here's also another reason to love Much.com, Patrick McDonnell. And it's blue, meaning I tagged him. Can you believe it? He noticed and he put a comment on my post. And he wouldn't have known that I shared this or written about him if I didn't tag him. So if you are a fan of a public figure or an organization or a TV show, try this. You never know. They might actually notice and respond. Okay, tip number 2, sharing, retweeting, and reposting rule. Yes, they do. And this is what social media is about. I'm going to use Pinterest as an example here. This is an image that I pinned. It's an ad we used for Adopt a Shelter Month. The picture on the left are the different people who decided to repin this image. Now, I don't know many of them, and I don't know how many followers they have, but let's look at a few of them. Let's look at El Fabuloso Chimpoxit. Well, it turns out that this person has 657 followers. That's a lot of followers on Pinterest. Who knows how many followers are on all these other pages? What I'm trying to say is that exposes you. That person's action just exposed you to a lot of new potential fans. Now, I know that on Facebook, when someone likes your post, I think it does now show on your news feed like this person liked a post. Other social media channels, I don't think that that's true. So sharing is really the method of exposing it to more people. Likes are great. I do still appreciate likes, but we want this action to reach as many people as possible, and that is done through sharing. Here's another example. This is actually an item we're trying to make money. It's a fundraising post. When we sell this item, we actually are raising money. Well, when someone shares it and they get people to notice it, they're helping you raise money. Here's a great example. Grouchy Puppy is a blog who has over 3,400 likes. Well, they just exposed my product to 3,400 potential buyers, and that's a big deal for me. Me and the organization who are trying to, use St. Patrick's Day to raise a little money. So this is why shares are extremely important. So just want to emphasize that. Tip number 3, give fosters, volunteers, and adopters the spotlight. I'm going to show you a couple photos that we posted that star volunteers and adopters. They're very popular, as you can see. They get a lot of shares and they get a like. It gives me a chance to tag the person. And I just like this method because I want to give them a shout out. It's a great way to thank your volunteers. And it encourages people to send you pictures so you have more content to post on your social media. I am backed up. I have a whole library of pictures, and I have so many to choose from. And as you can see, these kinds of pictures are kind of timeless, right? They could relate to a holiday, or they could relate to an event. And I have them sitting in my library. And trust me, when the volunteers get featured and they're not even expecting it, it's a big thrill for them, and they're likely to share it with their on their profile, and lots of people, and they love to see that their photo got shared and liked by so many people too. Tip number 4, every post or tweet or photo should have a call to action. What's a call to action? A call to action is something that you want the person to do now that they have noticed your post. I have seen really great photos posted without a call to action, and it kind of breaks my heart because that photo did exactly what they wanted them to do, to notice this organization. So that beautiful picture just brought attention, either a lot of shares and a lot of likes, and probably brought them new fans. Now, if the dog or an animal in the picture was for adoption, and you didn't neglected to mention that or put a link to how to adopt them or more information about that pet, you kind of lost an opportunity there. Here, I'm using this example. It's what we call a meme, and it's featuring a dog who we'd love for him to get adopted because he's been waiting quite some time. What a shame if I forgot to actually provide a link to make it easy for someone who wanted to adopt him to take the next step. So that's what I mean by a call to action. Here's another great one. Call to action actually is here, in the visual, in the photo itself, and I have several call to actions here because I'm trying to hit different audiences. Someone looking to adopt, I made sure that Josie's profile is linked here. Someone who is local and could stop by an adoption event, I want to make sure they know the hours of our open house and here's the address. But I think the point here that I'm trying to make is when you know that this photo is going to get attention, put in front of them an easy way to take the next step. Tip number 5, clever ways to caption. Now the next couple tips are all going to be about writing. Why is writing important? Well, it's another way for you to stand out. Of course, a great photo is going to be your number one tool, but you could spend a little extra time to say something well, and I think it's worth it. So here, let's go with some examples of clever ways to caption. I'm sure many of you run across, an animal who's come to your rescue or your shelter who loves to lick, right? I mean, such a typical thing. Well, here's a dog who was at Mudville, and we just thought, well, how do we make him stand out? How do we make this thing that everybody's familiar with stand out? Well, we had him lick the faces of various volunteers, and his name happened to be Lenny, and we thought, what a fun alliteration. So we made a hashtag called Licked by Lenny. We asked volunteers to send us pictures, if they've got one, of them being licked by Lenny, and of course we made a note that Lenny's for adoption. And we came up with a clever caption. There's a new mutt in town, and they say he's a real lover. His name is Lenny. Have you been licked yet? Well, unexpectedly, I got some really hilarious comments back. He hugged me with his mouth last week too. Does he have a liquor license? And as you can see, this got almost 3,000 likes, over 200 shares. So something that all of us have experienced, a dog who loves to lick your face, there's always a clever angle that you could take just to bring a little bit more attention. Tip number 6, keep captions concise and clear. What do I mean by that? Curly Sue is a sweet, funny, and exceptionally beautiful kitty. She'll be a profoundly wonderful blah, 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 blah. Too many words. Now, the same thing could have been said with less words. Curly Sue is as funny as she is affectionate. We think she'll make a great pet. Make sure you include your call to action. Doesn't everyone agree that this is better and gets to the point? I mean, you know, so many people don't even read captions. I've noticed, you can probably tell by comments. So, you know, make it easy for yourself and just make it short and sweet, but yet, you know, gets to the point. Tip number 7, the pen or keyboard is mightier than the sword. Why writing style matters. Once again, we're talking about quality versus quantity. Tell me, do you think this makes a difference? We could say Fortune Cookie, the name of this dog, is a sweet, loving dog who loves people. Adopt her today at Muttville. Or we could say Fortune Cookie is a real treat, and she sees her future with you. Meet her at Muttville. I mean, how cute is that? And it wasn't hard, right? It was just taking a little time to think of something a little bit more original. Tip number 8, find your own voice and give one to your animals while you're at it. I like this method. Basically what I'm saying is you can write the caption as if it's being spoken by the dog or the animal who is being represented in the photo. Here's a great one, because I'm using this example specifically because I think a lot of us are aware that dogs who look like Mama Junior sometimes get a bad rap. There are predisposed thoughts or ideas about dogs who look like Mama Junior, and without having to say anything specific, I can soften that predisposed idea. I mean, first of all, giving her a name that is sweet is a tool in itself. Now I'm attaching a sweet Southern accent to this beautiful face and with the name Mama Junior. I just want y'all to know how much I love a nice sunny day on the porch sipping lemonade. Now that's sweet. Of course, does she really sit on the porch sipping lemonade? Probably. She could. But my point is that you could be original and you could be thoughtful, and all of this just lends to change the predisposed thought, but also give her a persona. And of course, I didn't forget her call to action. And we, of course, coupled it with a photo where she looks sweet and she's got a beautiful smile. Now, I'd love to see examples of you using it, because trust me, this really works. So if you end up using this tip, please send me a link. I'd love to see it. Another example here, Reuben. He's a shepherd. Now, with a face like that, how could we not come up with a really cool caption that is coming out of his own mouth? Welcome home. I've been waiting for you all day. Want to play, or do you just want to shower me with love? He got some amazing comments that, we read to him, of course, but see how it's just trying to show you the effectiveness of using this tactic of giving your animals a voice. Photos is where it's at, even when sharing status updates or links. What does that mean? Well, I think we're all pretty familiar with the difference in the way a post looks when you're either sharing a link or you're uploading a photo. I have done some tests, and my opinion is photo posts definitely get more likes and more shares than when you share a link. Now, this is what the two look like. They're very different. But as you can see here, as a test, and I welcome you to do the same test, it's the exact same information. One, I'm sharing the link and I'm letting Facebook do the little thumbnail where it automatically shows a preview of that article. And I also took the same thing. I showed a link, but instead I uploaded the photo from the article. You know, in this simple experiment, you can already see that it got twice as many likes and it got shares. So again, I welcome you to try to do the test yourself, but I find that even if the call to action is an article, I think that you're going to get more attention by uploading a photo and providing the link to the article. And again, it gives you a chance to tag someone. So like if in this example, Lori is a mom who adopted one of the Muttville dogs and she works at Dogster, I could tag her in that photo, which I wouldn't be able to do necessarily on an article. Tip number 10. If you've got a great photo and you think folks will share it, make sure your logo is on it. Now, my background is marketing and branding, so this is a really important tip that I feel everyone should do your best to incorporate. Now, you may think that you need a graphic designer in order to make sure logos are on all of your pictures. I'm not saying put it on every single photo that you post on social media. But if you think you've got a really great photo, or it's like, as of these examples, it's an adoption photo, you know, you could have your logo in the background. These examples show some strategic placement of Muttville's logo. At outdoor events, we have a canopy, and we made sure to design the canopy to have a very large logo. We have a volunteer who is an illustrator, a chalk artist, and was able to put the logo big on in our headquarters. And the photo on the bottom right is it's actually a thank you wall where each of the hearts is purchased by various donors, and that's our logo. And then the example in the center bottom is something done by a graphic designer. It's a template where a photo can be dropped in. So the reason why I recommend putting a logo, you know, a really great photo sometimes gets downloaded and then people share it on their own. And also, you don't have to keep mentioning your name, and it's a great way for people just to recognize your brand, get your name out there. And honestly, the more people see your logo and the more people see your name, of course, it becomes recognizable, and that's how you build a brand. Hopefully, these are pretty simple. You know, you just kind of remind your photographers and people who are snapping pics on their phone to strategically have the logo in the background. You know, today, pretty much everybody knows the drill. It's not that hard, especially if you have really great placement and it's convenient. Tip number 11. Find volunteer photographers to donate professional photos. So along the same lines of tip number 10, hopefully many of you have already thought of this idea. As you know, there are so many photographers, including student photographers, who wouldn't mind donating their time. And what do you give them in exchange? Well, your exposure, you thanking them, tagging them on photos, letting people know about their services, and you help promote them by using their photos in your website or in advertisement, and always recognizing that they contributed. I think it's a great exchange, especially for a student who's just making and building their name. But I have a lot of veteran photographers as well who are happy to donate their time. I have a few examples of some photos here. It's a whole combination of people who want experience, but they are studying photography and they have a really great camera, and people who have been in the business a long time, and it just gives them a great great models to photograph, great compositions that they can add to their portfolio. I have yet to meet a photographer who really made a big deal about having to do it as donation. Now, it's true that photographers come and go, but honestly, I think we probably have at the moment 7 or 8 volunteer professional photographers. And in the years that I've been with Mutfell, we've probably had well over 20. So I really like having several because variation in their style. Some are studio photographers, some are outdoor photographers. But put the word out there. And that's another great use for social media. Ask, is there any volunteer photographers who'd like to donate their time? And of course, there could be volunteers already amongst your people who don't know you need a volunteer photographer. Like they're there to help walk dogs or to help with the headquarters in maintenance and so on, and those kind of volunteer roles that people are very familiar with. Maybe there's a great photographer amongst that group. Tip number 12, enter social media contests. I'm sure you've seen quite a few out there, and it's true, it does take quite a bit of energy and time to enter one. A lot of them ask you to get the most likes. Maybe they're asking you to post on a regular basis for a certain period of time. Definitely weigh the return on investment. If the prize is something you could really use, why not? If you don't win, you still gain exposure and you get to rally with the fans. You get to actually interact with them and have a pretty fun team involvement. But if you do win, I have a great example here. Mutfell won a brand new Toyota Sienna. Now, not only was this a great prize, we got to have a partnership with Toyota, and we asked them, now that we have this connection, we actually asked them if they could donate more. And in this case, what ended up happening was we asked them if they wouldn't mind donating the cost to have this minivan car wrapped, and we would even note, thank you, Toyota. And they said yes. So it was a win on top of we now have a partnership with them. They became a sponsor, and they paid for the car wrap. And, none of that would have happened if we didn't have the opportunity to have to be part, to have won this contest and to have made that connection. Tip number 13, tie into current news and events. So I mentioned that earlier, when we were talking about best times to post and use the hashtags. I have examples here because as of today, we're in March of 2016. Everything that's in the news has to do with the elections, right? You know what? Some of it is pleasant and some of it is not. You know what? You have an opportunity here to jump on that bandwagon, but add some humor to it or add something fun. I have an example here from Animal Care and Control. They started a vote for the dog mayor of San Francisco contest. And this was fun because the dog who won literally was whoever got the most likes on Facebook or got the most mentions on other social media channels. I have another example here. This is a dog who was for adoption named Nubia. Of course, everybody is probably voting, and you all get this funny sticker, I voted. So we used that in promoting her for adoption, and it tied into current events. Of course, it was shared, and of course, people thought it was funny. But you see how it's really simple to add a little creativity to message that maybe you frequently are posting on a regular basis. And here's another great example that maybe you remembered. During the Oscars, Ellen had taken this selfie, and this photo went viral. But not only did this photo go viral, there were funny iterations of it. I think Grumpy Cat did a version, and we jumped on that bandwagon because, one, it's really funny. This dog needed to get adopted, and yes, it was short-lived, but the point is that, that One, it brings fun into your job, but this is a great way to, again, bring special attention to a message that you may be saying, um, on a regular basis. Tip 14, know your meme. Now, first of all, do you know what a meme is? So, quick definition is a meme is a phrase or a photo that pretty much is generally familiar to most people. But you put your little angle to it, or your call to action. So here are some examples I have. Separated at birth. I think a lot of us have heard that phrase before. And here we tied in actually something else. We tied in Star Wars because this was during the time that the latest Star Wars movie just came out. Pretty much everyone knows who Chewbacca is. So this is a dog, Jamba, who happened to be a long timer. We just tied it all in. Why are memes great? Well, this just stands out. We could have just posted that photo, Jamba, let people know that he would be a loyal sidekick to you, but we just took it up a notch, and I think that's what we're trying to do, is always trying to stand out in that newsfeed. How do you have your post stand out in that newsfeed? Another funny example that maybe many of you have seen, that awkward moment. This is quite popular. I mean, this probably will live for a long time. And as you can see, Animal Rescue League used it for their campaign to get people to vote. And I had to share this one. Muttville happened to have a dog named Fabio for adoption, and we couldn't help ourselves. We made a meme with long flowing hair. I can't believe it's not butter. Yes, this was very popular, and it did not just bring attention to Fabio, who's for adoption, but to Muttville. Now, I am lucky. I have a volunteer, and I'm going to show you how this all started. She loves to do memes, and she noticed some dogs who were had been up for adoption for quite some time, and she thought of making memes for them. So, there could be a meme queen or king out there amongst your volunteer group. Maybe you put the word out there. Anyone love to do memes? Any graphic designer? You don't necessarily even have to be a graphic designer, but anyone who is clever and would love to do something like this, I think it's a really fun volunteer opportunity for somebody who loves to do this and is creative. Tip 15, post great photos, videos, or links several times. Now, there's a lot of stories that you may put out there that are what we call evergreen, really beautiful success stories or adoption stories or rescue stories. You know what? If they got a huge, great response the first time you posted it, hey, I know there are slow times of the year. Why not bring them back when you're kind of low on interesting stories, you don't have many campaigns or events going on. And another thing I like to do is photos that have proven to be popular, I reuse them again as ads. So my example here, which I used earlier, it proved that people liked it, got over 2,000 likes. So why not use it for an ad, which is very appropriate, right? For this ad, we used it for Adopt a Shelter Month. And it gave us an opportunity to tag them. So this is just one example, but I'm sure that you guys have stories that really took off and you noticed like, wow, it got an amazing response. If it can be shared again, I mean, why not share it again, right? Especially if it is a great story. Tip 16, ask other businesses or organizations to share your stuff. And also, you should share stuff from other organizations if your page is pretty popular and it could, honestly, if it could help out another organization or another page that could use some more awareness. I'm going to use this example where we teamed up with the Stockton Shelter, who is fairly small, but we ended up having a great relationship with them and partnership of them calling us whenever they had a senior, seniors that they had say that Muttville could take. So here's one dog named Beluga. Believe it or not, he was a stray. And his story is really, really great. We actually, Muttville had the funds to actually remove that growth on his head. Luckily, it was benign. And then he got adopted by his foster parents. Well, it's a beautiful story. Stockton had already previously asked us if we could give him advice on how to be better at marketing and social media. So you know what? We created a campaign to run together. Together we wrote a story, and we asked them to post it on their Facebook, on their Facebook page. We shared it. Their post got 3,000 more likes, and they acquired 100 new page likes. So I love this kind of teamwork. Hey, back in the day, 7 years ago, I used to do the same thing. Pages that were big. Shelter Pet Project, Best Friend Society. I asked them, hey, can you share this post? We'd really love it if you could help us out. And of course they did it. I think one of our biggest jumps was from Susie's Senior Dogs. At the time, she had over 100,000 likes, and we didn't even barely have 40,000 at the time. And in one day, because she shared one of our posts, I think we got 4,000 new likes, something like that. Something pretty amazing. I mean, partnerships, I guess, is what I'm saying. And you know what? We're all here to help each other out. We're all here to help save more lives. Tip 17, 2 words, hashtags. I know I've shown you a few of my favorites, and I'm going to show you how to find favorites for you to use. The hashtags work in pretty much every social media channel out there these days. I like to use it for memorable themes and taglines, as I showed you in my schedule. I use it for Tongue-Tied Tuesday, a very popular tagline, Adopt, Don't Shop. Muttville uses Senior Dogs Rule. It's kind of a fun way to add it into any caption, right? I also like to use it to piggyback on trending topics. So how did I come up with Super Bowl 50, Star Wars, and Oscars? Well, I'll use Facebook as the example, but other social media channels, you can do this as well. In the search bar, I literally just typed the first couple words, and it told me what the top hashtags were, which ones had over 100,000 people talking about them. So on any given day, I mean, you can easily grab a hashtag that you think is worthwhile and add it to your post. And why is this something that you'd want to do? Well, probably Star Wars fans are not necessarily following your page, but there's a lot of them that are animal lovers, and they might get a kick out of what you're posting that has something to do with Star Wars. Like, for example, that meme that had Chewbacca and Jamba. I, of course, tagged it with Star Wars, and maybe it got some interest from Star Wars fans who also happen to be animal lovers. So that's just one example of how hashtags are really great. And here's another extra little tip. Because hashtags are searchable, it helps me when I'm organizing or looking back at archives. So if I wanted to look at an old Tongue-Tied Tuesday, I could just search Tongue-Tied Tuesday, and it would pull up many posts that I had put on Muttville's page for Tongue-Tied Tuesday. So again, you can use it for your own, to serve your own needs as a social media manager. Tip 18, share buttons on pet profiles. Now this is super important, and if you don't actually have this incorporated yet, this is probably something I would put on the top of your list. This is something you would add to your website. Now, maybe you all have a website where you have featured animals for adoption, and they each may have a profile, right? Or they have their own specific link. Great place right here to feature social media buttons. And in this case, the social media buttons that you would add, or they're called share buttons, you would add to like a post, actually track the number of clicks. So in this case, the number of likes on Facebook, this number of clicks on Google+, Twitter, and Pinterest. I like this because it's also good for my team. So someone goes around and looks at all the profiles, and if there's a 0 on Google+, they're going to make sure that that profile gets on Google+. But this is great shortcut. Make sure that you add this as soon as you get home or as soon as you talk to your web developer. Very, very important. Tip 19, clever ways to use social media. Yes, we all get the best uses for Facebook, the best uses for Twitter and Instagram. Well, try to think outside the box. Have you thought about ways to use LinkedIn? Did you ever think about creating a page for one of your adoptables? So the truth is, Ocean Blue, she's my dog. And of course, it's probably best to use a animal that maybe belongs to your founder or executive director, someone who's going to be around for a while and can be like a spokesperson for your organization. People don't expect to see a dog or an animal here, and she's out there making connections, and then people are connecting with her who are all part of the animal rescue world, or even animal or pet related business community. She does use this to promote causes. She uses this to promote her cause for senior dog adoption, as well as Muttville, as well as animal rescue marketing. And you are welcome to connect with her if you'd like. There is her URL, but you could probably also search Ocean Blue, Muttville, and you'd find her. But isn't this a funny and very unique way to get your organization noticed? So Ocean has 243 connections, which is pretty good, I would say. Here's another clever way. This is something that was posted by our friends at Tony LaRussa's Animal Rescue Foundation. Remember the popularity of that dating site, OkCupid? Well, they jumped on that bandwagon and they created their own Pet Cupid, and they posted that throughout different social media accounts. They just took that, they jumped on that bandwagon, they took that popularity, and it's true, they do need a match. So I really loved this thinking outside the box idea. So I'm sure, even more brilliant ones that are out there now. And hey, if any of you decide to try something like this or make an account for one of your pets, send them to me. I would love to see it. Tip number 20, put the social in social media. What does that mean? Social media is a two-way street. Not only are you putting information out there, but you should be asking your fans to be contributing back to you. I love this example from Grouchy Puppy, which Grouchy Puppy quite often does this. She poses a question, and the kind of question that everybody loves to share. It's questions about your pet. So hers is bring you a toy, poke you, or woof. What's your dog's favorite way to get your attention? I love these kinds of posts because it shows that you are listening too. And I think that that is equally important. Here's a great example that we recently did for Muttville. We asked for photo contributions. This was related to the holidays. So this was a holiday photo album, and we asked previous adopters to send us their photos of their pets celebrating the holidays. Probably got well over 100 submissions. This album, we were able to keep adding to it for the entire month. And as a result, we got over 8,000 likes and over 1,000 shares. And trust me, this was easy. People were sending them to an email address, my email address. I was adding a few every day. And it just, it had a long life to it, which is something that, there aren't many topics that you can actually have them last for a month. So try this one. Try it during the next holidays and let me know how it works for you. So here's another example of how you're using your social media. These are comments posted for pictures of dogs that were for adoption. Now, in some ways, they don't relate to us, or the way that we can help them isn't necessary that they can adopt one of ours, but I have a volunteer named Patty who thought of this really great idea, and I'm so glad that she did, and she does this kind of response all the time. Somebody in Oregon, we're in California, somebody in Oregon is looking to adopt a large, medium senior dog. Well, we're also advocates for senior dog adoption. So I love this answer. What Patty does is she goes into Pet Finder. She looks up adoptable seniors who are in the town that this person lives, and she provides a link from Pet Finder. There are 72 adoptable seniors near you in Eugene. Let us know who you pick. Another example, a woman in Virginia who even says, sad face, I'd take him, but I live in Virginia. Little Jessica, there are 297 senior dogs near you in Virginia waiting for homes, and she provides the Pet Finder link. Steal this idea. I think that Patty's idea here is brilliant. I'm so glad that we do this. But, you know, all of you can do that, right? It's a great use for Pet Finder too. So, a quick summary. Remember, social media is a conversation. Comment back with answers or responses. Comment on other people's pages. And please share and like posts of other pages too. Tip number 21. Involve volunteers and staff in your social media strategy. So this is a little different than my earlier tip about spotlighting volunteers. Of course, many of your volunteers are likely to have personal profiles in their own, they're probably really active on their Instagram and they're posting photos of times when they're volunteering, right? Well, they're probably saying some really beautiful, heartfelt things and posting great pictures. Here's an example. One of our fosters, Amanda, she's a photographer. She's a freelance photographer. Beautiful picture of her adopted dog. And she has a beautiful caption. So we shared it directly to the Muttville page. Now, when you do something like this, I do want to note, make sure that that person has that post set to public, not to friends or a limited audience, so that when you share it, everyone can see it. And hey, if you really want to ensure that you get those kinds of posts, I put a call to action on this photo. So this photo is a photo I'm sharing that was contributed by an adopter named Josh, who happens to also be a photographer. I put a call to action. Send us your pics for Tongue Tie Tuesday. Now, I'm surely not going to get a chance to see everything that's out there. So I really do rely on the volunteers to tell me and show me really great things. Here's my example from my Mutt meme, Beth. She's the one who noticed that this poor dog, Gomer, had not yet been adopted. So she decided to come up with a meme. And ever since this date, now we make memes for many dogs who we consider long-timers. So from Beth contributing this idea to me and contributing her graphic, we now have a really cool social media series, what we call Muttville memes. And I couldn't do it without her. So again, involving your volunteers and staff and coming up with great ideas and actually helping you with your actual images helps save you time. And trust me, they really love the recognition. Tip number 22, remember to say thank you. Honestly, I think that we try to thank somebody every day. Really, almost every day. I'm sure you're getting lots of things. I mean, whether it's a volunteer who put in some extra time, a local business that donated goods. There's so many people you should be able to thank on a regular basis. And I think the best way to do that is to publicly thank them with a photo and to tag them. So here's a local business that honestly, out of the blue, will just call us and tell us that they have a truckload of food. So it's as simple as taking a picture, snapping it, and tagging them. And I think bringing them business is a great way of thanking them. Here's another post where I'm actually thanking many people. There's a thrift store that helps raise money when people donate goods. And people designate who they would like the funds to go to. So there's people who donate their stuff. There's the actual thrift store. And then this gives me a chance to let people know about the program, and maybe they have stuff to donate. And so you could see here, this was a multi-level thank you post, and it's something that we do regularly. And here I can, and it gives me a chance to announce how much money was raised in the past quarter. In this case, $2,500, and hopefully that encourages people to want to run down and donate their stuff to this particular thrift store. And a really great post here where we thanked the Honest Kitchen. Now we're thanking them here on multiple levels too. They had donated one of their products, as you could see, a lot of them, called ProBloom. Really great for seniors. It's a probiotic. We snapped a picture. They, in turn, wrote this great blog about about us and our use of ProBloom. Now, not only did we thank them on our page by sharing a photo, but on their page we thanked them. Now, they have a lot of fans, of course. I mean, they're a national company with products I'm sure that you've heard of. I think having thanked them on their page also helps you, because your name is in front of new people, their fans, and it kind of attaches back to the story, and it shows how grateful we are. Again, great ways to just bring more exposure to you, but really with the original intent of showing your gratitude and using your social media to thank those who have been very generous with you. And on that note, I would like to say thank you for your generosity of your time and sitting through my entire presentation.